Welcome to Sci-Fi Verse. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos, and enjoy the listening. Starport Nexus was a sprawling, bustling city in space, its labyrinthine corridors teeming with life from every corner of the galaxy. Towering aliens with metallic skin brushed past humans, while smaller, multi-limbed creatures scurried below. Holographic signs floated above the crowds, flashing advertisements in dozens of languages, most of which Captain Alex Hunter couldn't decipher. At his feet, Rusty, a scrappy little dog with a coat of wiry fur, wagged his tail furiously, his nose twitching as he sniffed the air, overwhelmed by the myriad of new scents. "Easy," Rusty Alex said with a chuckle, patting the dog's head. "This place is a bit overwhelming, huh?" Rusty responded with an eager bark, his eyes wide with excitement as they passed a vendor selling brightly colored fruits that emitted a sweet, intoxicating fragrance. "Don't even think about it," Alex warned, gently tugging on Rusty's leash as the dog leaned toward the stall. The vendor, a gelatinous being with multiple eyes, grinned at them, offering Rusty a small treat. Alex nodded in thanks, though he remained alert. Years of military service had taught him that even in a place as seemingly peaceful as Starport Nexus, danger could lurk behind every corner. They moved through the crowded corridors, heading toward the residential sector. Despite the vibrant atmosphere, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. His instincts, honed over years of combat, were rarely wrong. Rusty, oblivious to his owner's unease, suddenly stopped, his nose twitching furiously. Before Alex could react, the dog bolted forward, pulling the leash from his hand. Rusty, Alex shouted, frustration lacing his voice as he took off after the dog. Rusty darted through the throngs of people, his small size allowing him to slip between legs and under stalls with ease. Alex pushed his way through the crowd, his heart pounding as he struggled to keep sight of the little dog. "Rusty, stop!" Alex's voice was sharp, commanding, but Rusty was too focused on whatever had caught his attention. The dog skidded to a halt in front of a food stall, where a burly alien with 4 arms was grilling skewers of sizzling, spicy meat. The vendor looked down at Rusty with mild amusement. "Well, what do we have here?" the alien rumbled, flipping a skewer with one of his many hands. "Hungry, little fella." Rusty barked enthusiastically, his tail wagging so hard that his entire body wiggled. The vendor chuckled and tossed a small piece of meat down to the eager dog. Alex finally caught up, panting slightly as he scooped Rusty into his arms. "You can't just run off like that," he scolded, though his voice was more relieved than angry. "Looks like your dog's got good taste," the vendor said with a grin, waving a skewer at Alex. "He's got a nose for trouble," Alex replied, shaking his head as he rubbed Rusty's ears. "Thanks for not minding." "No harm done," the vendor said, shrugging with 2 of his arms while the others tended the grill. "I've seen worse." As they were about to leave, a group of lanky, iridescent-skinned aliens emerged from the shadows near a fountain. Krellians known across the galaxy for their advanced technology and, among the younger ones, their penchant for causing trouble. Well, one of them drawled, his sharp features twisting into a smirk. "What do we have here?" "A little furball with a soldier to match." Rusty growled softly, sensing the tension in the air. Alex's grip on Rusty tightened as he eyed the Krellians warily. "Keep moving," he said, his voice low and commanding. But the Krellians didn't budge. One of them, with bright green skin and a belt full of gadgets, stepped forward, holding up a small device. "Relax, we're just having a bit of fun," he said, pressing a button on the device. Rusty yelped as he was suddenly lifted out of Alex's arms, suspended in midair by an invisible force. The Krellians laughed, the sound grating on Alex's nerves. "Put him down," Alex demanded, his voice cold as steel. The Krellians ignored him, making Rusty spin slowly in the air as they snickered. "Come on, it's just a joke," the leader said, though there was a hint of uncertainty in his voice. "Is this how you get your kicks?" Alex's voice was dangerously calm, his eyes narrowing as he assessed the situation. "Just a little fun," the leader repeated, but the bravado was fading. "Fun," Alex echoed, his tone filled with contempt. "You think picking on someone weaker than you is fun?" The laughter died in the Krellians' throats as they realized they'd pushed too far. Without warning, Alex stepped forward, his hand flashing to the combat knife strapped to his thigh. The blade gleamed ominously in the dim light of the station. "Last chance," Alex growled, his voice a deadly whisper. The leader's confidence crumbled in an instant. He fumbled with the device, and Rusty dropped unceremoniously into Alex's waiting arms. Hey, no need for that, the leader stammered, holding up his hands in surrender. We were just kidding around. Alex sheathed his knife, but his glare never wavered. Get out of here, he snarled, and don't let me see you messing with anyone else's pet again. The Krellians didn't need to be told twice. They quickly retreated, their arrogance shattered, and vanished into the crowd. As they disappeared from sight, Alex let out a slow breath, trying to calm the anger that still simmered beneath the surface. He looked down at Rusty, who was trembling slightly in his arms. Hey, it's okay, Alex murmured, gently stroking the dog's fur. You're safe now. Rusty licked Alex's hand, his small body gradually relaxing. Let's get out of here, Alex said, his voice softening. We've had enough excitement for one day. With Rusty securely in his arms, Alex made his way back through the station's bustling corridors. They moved in silence for a while, the tension slowly ebbing away. You really know how to get yourself into trouble, don't you? Alex said after a while, his tone lighter now. Rusty gave a small, apologetic whine, and Alex couldn't help but chuckle. Yeah, I know. You didn't mean it. They reached the inn where they were staying, and the innkeeper, a stout alien with leathery skin and kind eyes, greeted them with a warm smile. Good to see you back, Captain, she said, her gravelly voice carrying a note of concern. Everything all right? Yeah, just a little run-in with some punks, Alex replied with a shrug. Nothing we couldn't handle. The innkeeper's eyes flicked to Rusty, who was still nestled in Alex's arms. Glad to hear it. Your room's ready, whenever you want to settle in. Thanks, Alex said with a nod, heading up the stairs to their room. The room was small but cozy, with a single bed, a chair, and a small window that offered a view of the stars outside. Alex set Rusty down on the bed, watching as the dog curled up into a little ball with a contented sigh. You're one tough little guy, Alex said softly, sitting down beside Rusty and running a hand through the dog's fur. But let's try to avoid any more adventures like that. All right. Rusty's tail thumped against the bed in agreement, and Alex smiled, feeling a deep sense of contentment settle over him. Tomorrow, they would be back on the move, heading off on another mission, facing whatever dangers the galaxy had in store. But for now, in this quiet moment, everything was exactly as it should be. As the stars twinkled outside the window and the soft hum of the station provided a soothing backdrop, Alex lay down beside Rusty, closing his eyes and letting sleep take him. The next morning, Alex awoke to the sound of Rusty's eager barking. The little dog was bouncing around the room, clearly excited for whatever the day might bring. Alex couldn't help but smile as he stretched and got out of bed, ruffling Rusty's fur as he passed by. All right, I'm up, Alex said, chuckling as he stepped into the shower. You're more energetic than I am this morning. After getting dressed, Alex grabbed his gear and headed out the door, Rusty trotting happily by his side. They made their way down to the inn's dining area, where a simple breakfast was being served. Alex grabbed a plate of eggs and some sort of alien sausage, while Rusty happily munched on a bowl of kibble that the innkeeper had thoughtfully provided. As they ate, Alex went over the day's plans in his mind. They had a few days left on Starport Nexus before they had to leave for their next mission, and he wanted to make the most of it. He had a few things to take care of, some supplies to pick up, a quick visit to the station's weapons dealer to check on an order he'd placed, and maybe a stop at the training facility for a quick workout. But most of all, he wanted to make sure that Rusty had a good time. The little dog had been through so much, and Alex wanted to give him as much joy and comfort as possible. After breakfast, they headed out into the bustling corridors of Starport Nexus once again. Rusty was full of energy, his tail wagging furiously as he sniffed at everything in sight. Alex kept a close eye on him, making sure that they didn't have a repeat of the previous day's incident. Their first stop was the supply depot, where Alex needed to pick up some essentials for their next mission. The depot was a massive warehouse filled with everything a soldier could need: rations, ammunition, medical supplies, and more. Alex made his way to the counter, where a grizzled old quartermaster greeted him with a nod. "Morning, Captain," the quartermaster said, his voice rough from years of barking orders. "What can I do for you?" "Just picking up some supplies," Alex replied, handing over a list. "Should be all set for pickup." The quartermaster scanned the list and nodded. "Got it all ready for you. Give me a minute." As the quartermaster disappeared into the back to retrieve the supplies, Alex glanced down at Rusty, who was busy sniffing around the base of the counter. The little dog seemed to be in a particularly good mood today, and Alex couldn't help but feel a surge of affection for his loyal companion. "Here you go," the quartermaster said, returning with a large crate. "Everything you need and a little extra on the house." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Extra?" The quartermaster grinned, revealing a set of crooked teeth. "Figured you might appreciate it. A little something special for the pup." He handed Alex a small bag, which Rusty immediately sniffed with great interest. Alex opened it to find a selection of high-quality dog treats, each one carefully wrapped and labeled. "Thanks," Alex said, genuinely touched by the gesture. "Rusty's gonna love these." The quartermaster waved him off with a grin. "Just keep him out of trouble, eh? Don't want to hear about any more incidents in the market." "I'll do my best," Alex replied with a chuckle, picking up the crate and bag. "Thanks again." With the supplies secured, they made their way to the weapons dealer's shop, a small but well-stocked establishment tucked away in a corner of the station. The owner, a tall, lanky alien with a pair of mechanical arms, greeted Alex with a nod. "Captain Hunter," the dealer said in a smooth, metallic voice. "Your order is ready." Alex followed the dealer to the back of the shop, where a sleek, high-tech rifle was displayed on a workbench. The weapon was a custom design, made to Alex's exact specifications, and he couldn't help but admire the craftsmanship as he picked it up. "This is perfect," Alex said, running a hand along the rifle's polished surface. "Exactly what I needed." The dealer nodded, clearly pleased with the compliment. "Only the best for you, Captain. If there's anything else you need, just let me know." Alex thanked the dealer and made his way out of the shop, his new rifle slung over his shoulder. Rusty, who had been patiently waiting by the door, barked happily as they headed back out into the bustling corridors of Starport Nexus. Their next stop was the training facility, a massive complex filled with state-of-the-art equipment for every kind of physical exercise and combat training imaginable. Alex wasn't planning on a full workout today, just a quick session to keep himself sharp. He made his way to the weight room, where a few other soldiers were already working out. Rusty settled down in a corner, his eyes following Alex's every move as he started his routine. As Alex lifted weights and went through his exercises, he couldn't help but notice the way the other soldiers glanced at him with a mix of respect and curiosity. His reputation as Ironheart preceded him, and while most people respected his skills and accomplishments, there were always those who wondered what it was like to train alongside one of the galaxy's most feared soldiers. But Alex paid them no mind. He focused on his routine, pushing himself just enough to maintain his strength and stamina without overdoing it. Rusty watched him the entire time, his tail wagging occasionally as if cheering Alex on. After about an hour, Alex decided he'd had enough for the day. He wiped the sweat from his brow and grabbed a towel, giving Rusty a quick pat on the head as he did. "Let's head back, boy. I think we've earned a little rest." Rusty barked in agreement, and they made their way out of the training facility and back toward their inn. The rest of the day passed in a blur of small errands and quiet moments of relaxation. They stopped by a park area within the station, where Rusty got to run around and play with a few other dogs that were being walked by their owners. As the day turned to evening, Alex found himself once again sitting in the inn's dining area, enjoying a simple meal while Rusty gnawed on one of his new treats under the table. The innkeeper, as always, greeted them with a warm smile and a few kind words, making them feel right at home. That night, as Alex lay in bed with Rusty curled up at his feet, he reflected on how much had changed since he first rescued the little dog from that war-torn colony. Rusty had become more than just a pet. He was a constant source of joy and comfort in a life that was often filled with danger and uncertainty. And as Alex drifted off to sleep, he couldn't help but feel grateful for the bond they shared, a bond that had only grown stronger with each passing day. The following morning, Alex awoke to find Rusty already awake and ready for the day. The little dog was wagging his tail excitedly, clearly eager for whatever adventures might come their way. After a quick breakfast, they set out into the bustling corridors of Starport Nexus once again. This time, however, Alex had a new destination in mind, a part of the station that he hadn't explored yet, but had heard interesting things about from some of the other travelers he'd met. The area was known as the Tech Bazaar, a sprawling market filled with all manner of high-tech gadgets, weapons, and other curiosities. It was said to be one of the most fascinating places on Starport Nexus, and Alex was curious to see what it had to offer. As they made their way through the crowded corridors, Rusty trotted along happily by Alex's side, his nose twitching as he sniffed at the air. The sights and sounds of the bazaar were unlike anything he had seen before: stalls filled with glowing devices, robotic creatures scurrying about, and holographic displays advertising the latest in cutting-edge technology. Alex couldn't help but be impressed by the sheer variety of items on display. There were weapons that could disintegrate a target in a single shot, personal shields that could deflect almost any attack, and even a device that claimed to be able to translate any language in the galaxy. But as they wandered through the bazaar, Alex's attention was suddenly drawn to a small stall tucked away in a corner. The stall was manned by an elderly alien with a long flowing beard and a pair of bright, intelligent eyes that seemed to see right through him. "Ah, a fellow warrior," the alien said with a knowing smile as Alex approached. "You have the look of one who has seen many battles." Alex raised an eyebrow, intrigued by the alien's insight. "I've seen my share." The alien nodded sagely. "And yet, I sense that your greatest battles are not fought with weapons, but with your own heart." Alex frowned slightly, unsure of what the alien was getting at. But before he could respond, the old alien reached under the counter and produced a small, ornate box. "Inside this box," the alien said, his voice low and mysterious, "is something that can bring you great peace or great pain. It is not a weapon, but a tool for the soul. Would you like to see it?" Alex hesitated, unsure of what to expect. But his curiosity got the better of him, and he nodded. The alien opened the box to reveal a small, glowing crystal, its surface pulsing with a soft, ethereal light. As Alex stared at it, he felt a strange sensation like a gentle tug at the edges of his consciousness, as if the crystal was trying to communicate with him. "What is it?" Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "It is a memory crystal," the alien explained, his tone reverent. "It holds the memories and emotions of those who have held it before. Some say it can reveal truths about oneself that have long been buried. Others say it can heal wounds of the heart that time alone cannot mend." Alex studied the crystal, his mind racing with possibilities. He had heard of such things before, but had never seen one in person. The idea of holding something that could reveal hidden truths about himself was both intriguing and unsettling. "How much?" Alex asked, his voice steady. The alien smiled, his eyes twinkling with a hint of mischief. "For you, my friend, it is free. A gift from one warrior to another." Alex was taken aback by the offer, but before he could protest, the alien placed the box in his hand, closing his fingers around it. "Use it wisely," the alien said, his voice filled with a quiet wisdom. "It can bring you great peace, but only if you are willing to face what it reveals." With that, the old alien turned away, disappearing into the shadows of the bazaar, as if he had never been there at all. Alex stared at the box in his hand, his mind swirling with thoughts. He wasn't sure what to make of the encounter, or of the crystal that now rested in his palm. But something told him that this was not a gift to be taken lightly. As they left the tech bazaar and made their way back to the inn, Alex couldn't stop thinking about the crystal. What secrets did it hold? What truths about himself might it reveal? The questions gnawed at him, even as he tried to push them to the back of his mind. That night, as he lay in bed with Rusty curled up beside him, Alex couldn't bring himself to sleep. The box sat on the bedside table, its soft glow casting a faint light across the room. He knew that the crystal inside could answer the questions that had haunted him for so long, but he wasn't sure if he was ready to face those answers. Finally, unable to resist the pull any longer, Alex reached over and picked up the box. He opened it slowly, revealing the glowing crystal inside. As he held it in his hand, he felt a strange warmth spreading through his body, as if the crystal was alive with its own energy. Taking a deep breath, Alex closed his eyes and focused on the crystal, allowing his mind to open to whatever it might reveal. At first, there was nothing, just darkness and the faint hum of the crystal in his hand. But gradually, images began to form in his mind, memories that he had long buried, emotions that he had tried to forget. He saw himself as a young soldier, full of ambition and pride, eager to prove himself in battle. He saw the faces of friends and comrades who had fallen by his side, their loss weighing heavily on his heart. He felt the pain of every wound, the fear of every close call, the sorrow of every life lost. But he also saw something else, something that he had tried to deny for so long. He saw the loneliness that had followed him through all those years, the emptiness that no amount of victories could fill. He saw the walls he had built around himself, shutting out anyone who tried to get close, afraid to let them see the vulnerability that lay beneath his tough exterior. And finally, he saw Rusty the little dog who had somehow managed to break through those walls, who had given him a reason to keep going, even when everything else seemed lost. He saw the bond they had formed, the love and loyalty that had grown between them, and he realized that it was this bond that had kept him from falling into the darkness. Tears welled up in Alex's eyes as he held the crystal, the weight of his emotions crashing down on him like a tidal wave. For so long he had tried to be strong, to be invulnerable, to be the perfect soldier. But now, in this moment, he realized that true strength came not from shutting out his emotions, but from embracing them, from allowing himself to feel, to love, and to be loved in return. As the images faded and the crystal's glow dimmed, Alex felt a sense of peace wash over him, a peace that he had not felt in a very long time. He placed the crystal back in the box and set it on the bedside table, his heart lighter than it had been in years. Rusty stirred beside him, sensing the change in his master's mood. The little dog looked up at Alex with those big, trusting eyes, and Alex couldn't help but smile as he reached down to ruffle his fur. "Thank you, Rusty," Alex whispered, his voice thick with emotion, "for everything." Rusty wagged his tail and nuzzled Alex's hand, as if to say, "I'm here for you no matter what." And in that moment, Alex knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, he would face them with courage and strength, because he was no longer fighting alone. He had Rusty by his side, and that was all he needed. The following morning, Alex awoke feeling refreshed and renewed, as if a great weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Rusty was already awake and wagging his tail excitedly, ready for whatever the day might bring. After a quick breakfast, they set out into the bustling corridors of Starport Nexus once again. This time, however, Alex felt a new sense of purpose, a sense that he was finally ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, without the burden of the past weighing him down. As they made their way through the crowded station, Alex couldn't help but notice how much brighter everything seemed. The colors were more vibrant, the sounds more lively, and the people around him seemed to move with a renewed energy. It was as if the whole station had come to life, reflecting the change that had taken place within him. Their first stop was the docking bay, where Alex needed to check on his ship and make sure everything was in order for their departure the following day. The ship, a sleek and sturdy vessel designed for both speed and combat, was docked at one of the larger bays, its hull gleaming in the artificial light. As they approached the ship, Alex was greeted by the station's chief mechanic, a gruff but friendly man with a thick beard and a pair of grease-stained overalls. "Morning, Captain," the mechanic said with a nod. "Ship's all set and ready to go. We've topped off the fuel, checked the systems, and made a few upgrades to the weapons, just like you requested." "Thanks, Bill," Alex replied, giving the man a firm handshake. "I appreciate it." The mechanic waved him off with a grin. "Just doing my job, Captain. She'll take good care of you out there." Alex nodded and made his way up the ramp and into the ship, Rusty following close behind. The interior of the ship was just as well maintained as the exterior, with everything neatly organized and in its place. Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of pride as he walked through the familiar corridors. This ship had been his home for years, and it had seen him through some of the toughest battles of his career. As they reached the cockpit, Alex took a seat in the pilot's chair, running his hands over the controls with a practiced ease. The ship's AI, a smooth and calming female voice, greeted him as the systems came online. "Good morning, Captain," the AI said. "All systems are operational. We are ready for departure at your command." "Thanks, Athena," Alex replied, his tone warm. The AI had been with him since the beginning, and while she was just a program, he couldn't help but feel a certain fondness for her. Rusty jumped up onto the co-pilot's seat, his tail wagging as he looked out the viewport at the bustling station outside. Alex chuckled and reached over to give the little dog a pat on the head. "You ready for another adventure, Rusty?" The dog barked in response, his eyes bright with excitement. Alex smiled and leaned back in his chair, allowing himself a moment to just sit and take it all in. The station outside was a hive of activity, with ships of all shapes and sizes coming and going, and people from all corners of the galaxy going about their business. It was a chaotic, unpredictable place, but it was also full of life and possibility. And in that moment, Alex realized that he was ready for whatever the future held. He had faced his past, made peace with it, and now, with Rusty by his side, he was ready to embrace whatever came next. The day passed quickly as Alex made final preparations for their departure. He stocked up on supplies, double-checked their flight plan, and made sure that everything was in order for the journey ahead. Rusty, as always, was by his side the entire time, his presence a constant source of comfort and companionship. By the time evening rolled around, they were ready to go. Alex stood in the cockpit, looking out at the stars beyond the station, feeling a sense of excitement building within him. It was time to leave Starport Nexus behind and set out on a new adventure, one that he was finally ready to face with an open heart and a renewed sense of purpose. As the ship's engines hummed to life, Alex took a deep breath and activated the controls, guiding the vessel out of the docking bay and into the vast expanse of space. Rusty sat beside him, his eyes wide with wonder as the stars stretched out before them. "Here we go," Rusty Alex said with a smile, his voice filled with anticipation. "The galaxy's a big place, and there's so much more for us to see." The little dog barked in agreement, his tail wagging furiously as the ship accelerated into the stars. And with that, they were off, two companions, bound by a bond that had been forged in the fires of battle and strengthened by the love they shared. Together they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that as long as they had each other, there was nothing they couldn't overcome. As the ship soared through the galaxy, leaving Starport Nexus far behind, Alex couldn't help but feel a deep sense of peace and contentment. He had found his purpose, his reason for fighting, and it was right here beside him, in the form of a scrappy little dog who had changed his life in ways he never could have imagined. And in that moment, as the stars streaked past the viewport and the vastness of space stretched out before them, Alex knew that he was exactly where he was meant to be on a journey that was far from over, with the best friend he could ever ask for by his side.